Koei Tecmo was kind enough to reserve us a slot for their exhibit, giving us access to their game demos. These games would be Fairy Tail 2 and Dynasty Warriors Origins. So, I'd like to share my experience with both games, share what I know, and help you decide whether this might be your kind of deal. The people at Koei Tecmo booth did go ahead and let me play and record my own playthrough, but not quite how it was like last time. So, I resorted to recording with the ROG Phone 8, which would have worked out great if I had paid a bit more attention to the recording. So, we'll mix it in with trailer footage to mask my incompetence. Anyway, on to the games. The demo of Fairy Tail 2 pretty much drops you at the very start of the game, and excuse me for skipping cutscenes and not really catching which arcs this will cover because I'm on a time limit. The actual game does let you move around the familiar scenes in the anime, such as the guild hall itself and the city that it resides in. Not long after this, it's time to press buttons and kick ass, and we are introduced to the battle system. Generally, it feels like something between a turn-based strategy game and an action game, where you are trying to evade combos and respond to defense prompts. When attacking, you build up skill points with basic attacks, which is what you need to pull off special moves. Attacks that use special moves will cost some points, and stretching it out to have longer and more of these moves will make it cost more. It hints to me that there will be times that it will be more ideal to stock up on points when alternating between attack and defense, most likely for boss encounters. The popular mechanic of having a break bar makes it into Fairy Tail 2. Once this bar is emptied out from your attacks, it knocks the enemy down, opening them up to bigger attacks from one of your party members as an assist. That effect of what the assist does will vary upon who you called on. Naturally, party composition will also affect how you can play. Natsu in general deals a lot of direct damage, Lucy helps you charge your skill points faster, Wendy can provide healing, Ray can freeze enemies, Yuvia naturally attacks with the area of effect, and the list goes on. Point is, you'll want to switch up who you have in combat to suit the battles ahead of you. There's also a progression system that reminds me a lot of what I saw from Grand Blue Fantasy Reeling. Though my session was rushed, so I wasn't really able to explore this, but I'm fairly certain that it is going to be easy to pick up for anybody that's interested. Quick research on the trailer shows us that they'll be playing through the Alver's Empire arc, but will not be restricted to just featuring scenes from that story. You'll also be able to see conversations and moments between characters, and even have post-campaign story to play through, giving you much more Fairy Tail to chew on. Personally, I found the game system quick enough to help me blast through the grindy battles, and the concepts that the system presents does pique my interest quite a bit. This is probably the best format you can go with if you want to play as many different characters as possible and have them look good. I do appreciate how well realized the anime's art style went into the game. For those who are fans of this kind of direction, it'll be releasing this December 2025. For the second session I played Dynasty Warriors Origins. It would have recorded nicely had I checked the focus while the recording was ongoing, but it is now this unfocused mess of a TV screen, which will serve as great background footage for other videos I decide to make use of. I have not played Dynasty Warriors since the PS2 age, which might give you an idea of what sort of fossil you're dealing with here, but that aside, what is the game like? The format doesn't seem to have changed much as you run through a quick cutscene, then move to the briefing about the upcoming battle that you're going to fight. It's here where you will ideally be able to customize things like which character you play, weapon you use, and more, but since there's a demo, those options are clearly limited. So onto the battlefield we go, and the first thing I noticed was the level of refined graphics for even the most generic soldier out there. And huge plus points for amusement when you take them on and they blast away like their Team Rocket. Now, things like the command list is pretty much as I can remember, start with fast attacks and use stronger attacks midway to produce a combo. The more interesting and new stuff that I see from here are a few combat functions. One of them would be the use of dodges that when well timed gives you a window of counterattack, but it's quite brief. Along with this will be the access to special techniques that you can use in battle so long as you have the charges required to activate them. You gain them by fighting naturally. Mostly used to burn through enemy defense to make your opponents easier to flinch and combo against. Another new function that I was able to make use of was calling on your army to do some specific strategies on call. What I had available was an arrow shower, a cavalry charge, and an encirclement against your specific target. While they are interesting to have on hand, it was hard to see how big an effect they really had on the battlefield with so much going on. We can probably come to understand how this works better as you get more hands-on time with the game. There are also new things that your enemies can do, where a certain general can challenge you to one-on-one fights, a duel if you will, where the result will affect the morale of both armies should you choose to engage. Enemy commanders can also launch a grand tactic which you can prevent by following the required objective to do that. During the demo, this objective was pretty much knocking out enough soldiers, and as usual, it's a lot. These two new features help in adding short-term goals and add a degree of spontaneity to the game. Finally, the biggest function that stood out to me was the ability to bring a companion along, which appeared to function as a secondary ultimate attack. I've come to know Muso attacks, the ultimates, as big attack skills that can handle even the strongest bosses and give them a fat chunk of damage. But now, there's an ability to call on your companion, where they appear to temporarily take over for you while being some sort of unstoppable juggernaut you get to play as. On top of that, they can enter an even stronger mode, where they can just make even generals just look like cannon fodder. All these new additions really help with breaking up the monotonous spamming of the attack button to rack up hundreds of takedowns on the battlefield. I used to find myself a little bored of fighting the same enemies over and over and over in Dynasty Warriors, but with these new additions to the battle system, the new nice coat of paint on everything, and the fresh new take on the story, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in trying this at least a little bit more. For those of you who feel the same way, Dynasty Warriors Origins will be releasing January 2025. And that's what we got for the Koei Tecmo booth. We'll be releasing more content on other publishers like SNK and Level 5, as well as other indies soon as we can, thanks to Asus Republic of Gamers for making this coverage possible. The Asus ROG Phone 8 is the most comprehensively capable smartphone I've ever handled, giving you nice, crisp images with its AMOLED display at 165Hz, flawlessly showing vibrant colors and smoothly handling any game with 16GB of memory and massive 512GB storage to house all of them. It even comes with a cooling attachment to make sure that long intense sessions can go unimpeded. What stood out to me the most would be the triple camera system that performs impressively for both photo and video recording, even at low light conditions, which is common in conventions, and it certainly made our job a little easier. All this powered by a 5500 mAh battery, which lasts us more than enough for an entire day without charging. The Asus ROG Phone 8 and its beefier counterpart, the ROG Phone 8 Pro, are now available for sale.